for explaining.
Excellent. We are live. I am Alan Roberts. I'm here with Mike Robinson. How you doing, man?
Dude, I am fantastic. I'm making sure I tweet out the link here. So
yeah, please do. Please do. I appreciate it. So what's been going on, man?
Dude, just I mean, I honestly today felt like a Monday, even though it's not a Monday. So it was one of those days where it's just like crazy busy at the first part of the day. But honestly, as the day kind of eased on, it chilled out. And here in Tennessee, anyway, this is our first like full fall day. It was like cloudy, overcast. It didn't get above 60 degrees. It felt like fall, which is great. It's fantastic. You like that feeling, but at the same time, like those are the days I just want to sit on the couch, drink coffee, watch a movie, like be lazy to some extent. And of course, it's busy, but I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, man. Life is good.
Yeah, I'm a little farther south than you. It got like into the 40s in the middle of the night last night. For us, that's fucking cold.
Yeah,
now, it's different because this year, like last year, this time we were still living in Southwest Florida and we moved a little bit north. So we're catching but I will say this, man, the wife and I have even talked about it. Like we lived in Southwest Florida for 4 years, like through the entire pandemic, pretty much. And then it's been really like seeing the seasons has been neat this year. You know what I mean? Like, and I think we're really going to enjoy it. We're farther out into the country, man. I'm going to find some hay rides and shit like that to go on for Halloween.
No, I mean, like kind of where you are, because it's really fun. I mean, you can attest to this. And granted, you're a transplant anyway, but I lived in South Florida for a number of years. My ex is from there, and you know, it's funny because you when you first get down there, and people who are literally from those pockets of Florida, they're like, yeah, we're from the South. I'm like, no, you're not. Like South Florida is like Michigan and Ohio transplanted.
Yeah,
different place, right? But where you are in that northern part of Florida, that's the South, man. Like that's truly the South. And so, you know, I used to tell folks all the time, like you got to be from North Florida to actually be from the South, because if you're from South Florida, you're literally from the north. Like, you know,
it's very, very, very true.
Yeah.
Like Crystal and I, my wife and I, lived a long time in South Carolina, and for several years we lived in a little town called Pickens. It's actually the town it's actually a town very close to like very, very close to all the shit that's happened, right?
Oh yeah.
And we lived at like our closest neighbor was the park ranger. He lived like a quarter mile away. And that was just fucking glorious, dude. I could step out on my back patio, pee off the back deck if I wanted to. Like nobody, like there was nobody in sight at all. Like nobody. That is my goal to get back to. We couldn't. I mean, obviously, like I was just starting my healthcare career, so we moved and everything like that, blah blah blah. But we will get back to there sometime, just in a little bit better, like a little bit different of a setup, because you know.
Well, you know, that's how my little brother lives not too far from there. And he and I were talking the other day, because now he's in Seneca, South Carolina. So he's kind of,
I know exactly where it's at.
Yeah. He's there near the campus and he's there near school and all that stuff. But he actually lives on the outskirts. And, you know, I tell him, I'm like, and you know this, when you get into some of those pockets, whether it's Carolinas or the, you know, South Alabama, South Georgia, places like that, you've got some pretty good sized towns. But the truth is, you only go about 10 miles in one direction. And I mean, you were in the middle of absolutely nowhere. You know, I saw a map the other day. We're talking about the election, and, you know, people were just talking about the concentration of the population in the United States. And really, when you look at that over 50% of the population of the United States lives in these outlying areas, you know, LA, San Diego, San Francisco, New York, Boston, you know, and there's these little pockets along the coastlines for the most part. Then you have Atlanta, Birmingham, Nashville, you know, Detroit, places like that. But as a general rule, everything else in between is so sparse, you know. So every time I hear somebody like, oh, we're overpopulated, I'm like, y'all have not driven anywhere. Y'all have never left town. Like y'all have never gone anywhere. Because, man, It's crazy.
The whole overpopulation agenda is completely like it's fabricated.
Well,
right?
it is. I mean, just like most of the climate change stuff, because when you actually take the literal stats and take the nearly 8 billion people who live on this planet, you can put them shoulder to shoulder and you won't even fill the state of Texas. So when you start talking about overpopulation, I'm like, yeah, listen, and we'll talk about some of this later, but like with Haiti, I lived in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. That is a truly overpopulated area by square miles and population, things like that. But the vast majority of that island of Hispaniola, where the Dominican and Haiti sit, is empty. And so, whether you got 20 million people there or not, most of them live in very small concentrated areas. And the same is true for the United States or any country for that matter.
So I'm a big believer. I've talked about this multiple times, and I think it's an interesting concept. I'm not always just screamy and yelly. I actually think about shit. But I have this theory like that humans were meant to free range, right? Like we're meant to eat, like each family unit, like, or even family, like a family colony, basically tribe, should have like their own space, right?
Right.
And I think that we're animals. We're meant to free range. We're not insects. We're not supposed to live in hives. And I have never, like, that's why I'll never live in an inner city ever, because
I literally just told a friend of mine last night. I mean, I can walk out in my front yard right now and I'm looking at the skyline of downtown Nashville. Right. Yeah, I'm 2.5 miles from the city center. And we're in a weird pocket. I mean, I have almost a half acre, which for a residential area in a big city is a big deal, but at the same time, like I literally said, I got to get the hell out of here. Like, there's just certain things. You're locked into certain realities, but even here, with the immigration issues, with, this defund the police. I mean, Nashville's become such a blue, leftist focused kind of deal. Like we've just around my area here, and this is an established, really safe neighborhood, but in our immediate area, we had 11 robberies in the last week and a half. And I'm like, man, I just don't want, I don't even need to think about it. We never had a problem in my home, but it's probably just a matter of time. Right. And then it's just the idea of, I just want to spread out. Like I literally told my husband the other day, I was telling my family today, I was like, if I can figure a couple of little details out, I'm probably headed somewhere like West Virginia, where I can go buy 200 acres and have a house and a barn and a bunch of land and be 50 miles from the nearest town. And
do Bama instead of West Virginia.
Well, I would like to, but I can literally buy 10 times the property in West Virginia.
But in West Virginia, there's multiple things. First of all, it's harder to actually like be self-sustaining.
Well,
true. Because of the weather and some of the laws, like Tennessee, even though it's hard to get land, Bama, Texas, and I think it's New Mexico or Arizona. But those are the only places where you can truly off grid if you needed to.
Right.
Like Absolutely. Where you don't need to be hooked up to the electric, you don't need to be hooked up to the water, like which is fucked up because we should all be able to just we should be able to like be all be self-sufficient. It would help out so much,
I literally just said to a really good friend of mine who's really, really tight inside the federal government. And I just said, I was like, if Trump gets in and he gets this election and we see RFK Jr. step in and start to handle this Make America Healthy, but he puts his fingers into USDA and some of this, like, because RFK put up a thing, I think it was yesterday or day before, talking about, untethering farmers from all of this craziness and allowing them to literally just be farmers like they used to be and things like that. And I was like, please, somebody tap me. Let me get in there and talk about this, because so many of the things, like I was even explaining to my own father today with the work that we do with the animals. He's like, why don't you just do this, this, and this? I was like, I don't think you understand. Like I can do anything I want. We're human beings. We can. The problem is that unless you're completely off the radar, nobody knows you exist and nobody knows you're doing your thing. I was like, at some point, the federal government's going to step in and they're literally going to chop me off at my knees. And there's not a lot I can do about it. I mean, I can fight it, but I'm not a billionaire, so I'm not sitting on resources to go sit in 10 years of litigation in the Supreme Court of the United States and fight this stuff. So the question is, how do you, we got so many things we got to go back to in this country, and it's just more and more evident every single day.
Well, I talk about that all the time. I don't know how people think that they're gonna do well. It's weird. Like a lot of people, like especially the leftists, of course, there's people on the right that do it too. And these people talk a lot of smack ass shit. Like they talk a lot of wild stuff, right? But like, hey, as a newsflash, if you can't walk a mile, I'm not. You're fucked. If you can't walk a mile when shit hits the fucking fan, when like the power grid goes down, which is it's very likely to happen at some point in time. That's what people understand. Like our infrastructure in this country is dog shit because they keep giving money away to other countries to build their infrastructure. And that's the fucking truth, right? Yes. And a lot of these people, like you guys would all be truly fucked. Like and if society completely devolves, you people are going to be somebody's bitch. Right. You're like real quick. You know?
I sit back and think a couple of these conversations I've had, because obviously, it's been the hot topic of all this stuff that's gone on, and the disasters with the hurricane and the relief money that's not flowing into. I mean, even today, as much as I don't like Speaker Johnson and I think he's a total pussy, and I just think he's a total cuck to the system. Like even he was calling out CBS because they edited down his thing where he was literally calling out like, hey, FEMA's not actually doing their job. And they edited it out. But, it's interesting when you hear all these people like in our obviously the VP, our president, people like this trying to make these claims. And then they'll start saying all this bullshit, right? Like, oh, we got to get Congress back. They got to vote on this. We got to do all this. I'm like, why don't you go read HR 9797 that they passed on September 25th that replenished the $22 billion of disaster assistance funding for FEMA with executive drawdown power, which means exactly what they've done for Ukraine and Lebanon and everybody else. All they got to do is sign a goddamn piece of paper, and all of a sudden, all the money can flow to these places that need it. But they bought into the system, and they're buying this like it's a weird thing because it's not extreme rhetoric right now. That is a thing I've kind of noticed, is that you're not really seeing this really extreme rhetoric coming out of really either side. I mean, granted, they're damning each other, they're accusing each other of things. But what you're not seeing is this extreme rhetoric. What you're seeing is this moderate rhetoric to say, we'll do it. We just need somebody to do this thing, or we need somebody to do this thing. And they keep it kind of at the center line. And so it leaves people where they don't feel like they need to go dig up the facts, right? They feel like, oh, I'm getting at least enough of a truth that I can trust it. Hey, I know this isn't exactly right on either side, but they're not really seeing that one side. And again, it's this Marxist ideology, this communist thought process of we're going to tell you what we're doing while we're doing it and blame the other side for it. But we're going to do it at this real baseline level so that you'll buy the bullshit, you'll ride the wave, and you quit asking questions. And it's mind blowing to me.
The fucked up thing is, like, there's so much weird shit about the stuff that's going on in North Carolina right now. I don't even understand it, because I can't believe that. Like, if you're the incumbent, like, vice president, and you want to win the presidency, right? What an opportunity! Like, and I know this is going to sound horrible, people. I know, trust me, I know, like, because it's taken human life out of it. But what a missed opportunity to look like the hero to not just leftists, but a lot of people that you could win their vote over, right? Like, they could have come in and been like, look, I don't like Kamala Harris. Could have been like, I don't care what's going on. Donald Trump can say anything he wants. These American citizens have lost everything. There's still thousands of people missing. I just saw videos. One of my family members sent me a video. There's people living in tents by the river, by the river that's now new. I got a newsflash for you. It gets cold as fuck up there. Yes. Okay. Like, it gets cold as fuck.
Like, doesn't warm up at all. It's not like the sun comes out and it like heats it up.
No.
You're shadowed 80% of the day by the mountains, by the trees. You're shielded from all that stuff. Yeah. And so you don't get what we get in a plateau area like Middle Tennessee, where sun comes up at 11 a.m. You're warm. You can be warm for 4, 5, 6 hours, right? And maybe get some relief. No, it doesn't happen up there, man.
And they're intense and shit like that. I mean, it amazes me that we will have complete apartment buildings, complexes, all that shit given away to, like, it's like this incredible purposefully missed opportunity. It's very strange, because first of all, it took FEMA 4 or 5 days to even fucking get there. Right. Tens of thousands, like, at one point in time, there was tens of thousands of people missing. There are still thousands of people missing. And it's weeks later. It's been cold. They've gotten more rain. These people are dead. Like, that's what aggravates the fuck out of me. Like, people are pretending like, well, they're just missing. They're only 200 people are dead. The rest are just missing. It's been weeks. It shows how much you bitches
No,
had no.
that's the sheriff in Swannanoa was telling me the other day. Like it's
they're dead.
It is a recovery mission, not a search.
Yeah, they're dead. They're dead. It just goes to show these people have no idea about what it's like to actually rough it a little bit. Like you think that people that have been washed away by a flood are clinging on to like yeah, they got up and walked back to their home that doesn't exist anymore on the property that doesn't even exist a lot of times, you know? It's just so next level fucked up that people are like that people don't understand this.
Well, and
the sad thing is go ahead.
No, it just leaves you in a place where you're saying like people don't understand it, and then you step back and you're like, yeah, it's a missed opportunity. This is where you get some of the and they're literal conspiracy theories, and I think they are. Now they may be proven true because most end up being proven true. Yeah. But the reality is, like right now, we don't really know, so we'll call it a conspiracy theory. That's fine. I'll label it that. But the truth is, maybe the neglect is to keep that 80% of the state that is not typically going to vote blue from being able to actually function and vote. Right. And then, but they like, you would think in most natural disaster situations, you would already be talking about how do we make provisions for that? How
They're not even doing this.
They don't give a fuck. Like they don't care.
It's barely on the news.
Right.
It's like that's another thing too. This is still an ongoing crisis. like this is an ongoing crisis. There are people still dying because they can't get medicine because they're living in the elements. And again, it's going to get cold as fuck up there. Like, I mean, like it any
time now.
Yeah. And
I know what it is here in Middle Tennessee. You just go 200 miles east of here where all this shit's going on. It's colder. It's more extreme weather. Like it's just not, it doesn't make any sense, man.
And it's another couple thousand feet of elevation.
Exactly.
You know? And it's like this, it's just strange thing. Like the very second I was like, oh, they're just going to let these people die. Like, I mean, because that's what happened. Like by day 2 of the flooding, when like there wasn't this mass response, I was like, all these people are going to die. Like I remember I texted a family member of mine. I'm like, if you're not watching this, you should be, because they're not covering it on the news. So you're going to get it other ways. But all these people, like thousands of people, are going to be dead. And and of course, when I said that the first day, people were like, oh, you're over exaggerating. I'm so sick of you motherfuckers telling me that I'm over exaggerating when I have been so right about so much shit in the last 4 years. I'm so sick of it. Like, I mean, I don't expect you to believe me, but when I present facts, logical, critical thinking data and shit like that, at least open your fucking mind and don't dismiss me just because how I look. You know, that's the weird fucking thing.
Well, that's what's so funny. So I know I started telling you the story. And you mentioned this, like all this money that's going to these refugees, whatever. I don't care what you label them, illegals, refugees, asylum seekers. I don't give a shit. And here's the other thing. And I want to say this because I think this is an important preface going into this. And it's something that I said that started this weird conversation with this random person in Alabama, is that I've got some good friends from Haiti who came here well before this mess was what it is right now, about 2.5 years ago, before it was really at a fever pitch of all of this crazy immigration, or at least before we were paying as much attention because it hadn't quite flooded us that hard, right? But they came over because of the unrest and the craziness that's going on in Haiti. A church group brought them over. This is a guy who worked for me for years in my mission work in Haiti. He and his wife were translators. I've known this dude since he was 10 years old, man. He's a good man. He's a good father. You know, he's got a great job. You know, like he's set up. He's in a good spot. But Athens, Alabama, which is about an hour and a half, south of here, is one of those places for whatever reason. I don't know if it's FEMA, Department of Human Services. I don't know who's responsible. Nobody, who cares? I don't care who's responsible. Government is responsible. So whatever arm, it doesn't matter. Right. They've been busing them in there and setting them up. Right. So low income Section 8 housing, apartment complexes, all this kind of stuff. And then putting them there because it's kind of this, it's growing. It's an area of Alabama that's really exploding. There are a lot of jobs there. There's a lot of poultry farms. There's a lot of that kind of work that you can take immigrants, put them in, they're going to make they can make a decent amount of money. Anyway, he's there. But what I saw is The court system's overwhelmed because they don't have translators. The medical
Right.
offices are overwhelmed. And Haitian Creole, I mean, listen, there are roughly maybe 15 to 20 million Haitians on the planet. Haitian Creole is a unique dialect. There's just, when you think about 7 billion people, not many people speak that language, right?
Mhm.
So, you know, I just go into this Facebook group where I see these concerns and said, listen, I got a buddy of mine who's from Haiti. He speaks fluent English. He's a good dude. He's got a great job already, but he and his wife are there. If you need help in your medical office, your whatever you're doing, hit me up. I'll connect you. He can help you with translation, right? So I hit him. We do this whole thing. And this woman comes out of nowhere and she's like, look at you supporting the rapist, the this, the that. And I was like, listen, let's be very clear. The vast majority, and I'm going to say this because, and this may be unpopular with some of the people who watch this, you know, this broadcast each day. The reality is, I think about 80 or 85% of these people who have come into our country came mostly innocently, right? Like they saw an open door with an opportunity for a more quote unquote better economy, although they're probably finding out that it's not so true anymore. But, you know, an opportunity to get out of the shitholes that they come from,
right?
To come here, maybe build a better life, maybe give their kids a better life. And they used a quote, and I'm going to say quote legal process, like the CBP app, right? So you can fill out this bullshit and the government's going to issue you that asylum status, right? So you're technically here legally, but you're not here legally. And like, it's just such a mess, right? But like, I don't think most of these people came with nefarious means, you know, like they just came to take advantage of an opportunity, right? And so I say this, and this woman's like, no, they came here to rape and kill our kids and to this and that. I'm like, whoa, like, you got to back off for a minute. Like, do I think they should all be here? No, I don't. I think that it was handled wrong. I think that we got flooded with it. I think they're using our tax dollars inappropriately. I think we as Americans are suffering as a result of it. I think there's a lot of crooked mess in it, right? But the enemy isn't actually generally, now there are definitely some crooked criminals, obviously, that are coming to the country very intentionally. But I don't even think the criminals got themselves here intentionally. I think those elitists who are trying to destroy the American dream, the liberties, the freedoms, the constitutional republic that we are, have set that up. And they just know these people take advantage of it, right? So like, right. So I just think in general, most of these people did not come here with a bad motive, right? They just came here for something. And again, I think there's enough of them that did come here with a bad motive. We got a real problem. Like there's a real danger and it's really going to fuck up our country. And I think it all does, because I think they thought about it. They knew they were fucking up the country.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's purposeful.
100% of this stuff was to fuck up the country. I just don't think that most of the immigrants came with that as the mindset, right? They're just
no. I don't think so. I agree with you. I don't think so either.
Well, I'm trying to explain, and I tell this lady, I was like, listen, most of the Haitians who come to the United States, they're just trying to get the fuck out of Haiti. Like Haiti's a shithole, and but what's crazy is Haiti's a shithole that's run by us. And so I'm trying to break this down and I'm giving her the whole rundown and she's like, you're full of shit. You're in this conspiracy theory. You're all this stuff. So I start posting receipts. I'm like, I don't think you understand. For like 20 years, you know, I worked with the government. And so one of the things I pull out, I got this book. Okay. Former Prime Minister of Haiti, friend of mine. Don't know that that's a good thing. I don't know that makes my resume great, but he is an acquaintance. He is a friend. Okay. And so like I put it up there and I'm like, listen, I put up pictures with him. I put up the note he wrote me, like, thanks for what you do. Thanks for being a friend. Thanks for helping Haiti, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I know what I'm talking about. Like, but then I bring up corruption, Clinton's XYZ. Yeah. Oh, I need citations. I need proof. I need this. I'm like, so I start listing things and she's like, I need a link. I need a book. I need an article. I'm like, bitch, there ain't nothing out there. Like CBS or CNN or ABC is going to give you this stuff. I'm like, this is lived experience. Right. You know, and so I started going through and she's like, I'm not chasing your right-wing conspiracy theory bullshit down the blah, 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 blah. And she just goes into this whole thing. But here's the crazy thing is like, she's bitching about the immigrants being here, but then at the same time goes into the dialogue of I'm voting for the very people who open the border, won't control it, keep funneling all the money. She's bitching about having no resources. And yet she's a dumbass and going to vote for the very people who continue to fuck the country up. It's just my head wanted to explode. Like I wanted to drive down and find this woman because I know who she is. I wanted to find her, knock on her front door, and just look her square in the eye and go, "You are a dumb fuck. Like, wake up. Like, what do you have? Like, what have they fed you? What did they put in your food? What
Well, it's propaganda. It's the propaganda, dude. Do you know how many people don't even realize that there's still people in North Carolina that need help?
Right.
Like, I had other family members that thought it was kind of over after a couple of days. Oh yeah, that was bad, but I heard they got it taken care of. Like, fuck, are you fucking kidding me? This whole town's gone. It changed the topography of the fucking land. Like,
Right.
there's rivers have moved.
Yes.
Like that's in.
I just can't. I'm gonna find this because I can put this up where people can see it somewhere in here. Because a friend of mine's going up literally like every other day and taking food and taking supplies up and helping people. And this was from like 2 days ago. I think it was 2 days ago. Yeah. When you just look at there you go. Like just simple stuff people can see. Like just 2 days ago, what's still existent that hasn't been cleaned up yet, where towns are just all kinds of fucked up, and things are not livable and, business. And this is in like 3 weeks of going up there. It's the only military helicopter she laid eyes on. Only one.
They're not even. They're like not at this stage. They're not even trying to recover bodies. Like they're basically going to have to just declare people dead when they don't show the fuck back up. Right. So
I mean that's what the going to be. Folks said they're not asking for resources to find people. They're asking for body bags.
So my point by that is that they are kicking the can on the total death toll. They're kicking the can on it. Because they can't all of a sudden announce like, oh, by the way, that thing that happened in North Carolina killed 3,000 people. But we just didn't tell you about it. We know we told you it was 200, but it's 3,000. It's just not on the news, right? Because they're too busy trying to get Kamala to win a fucking election, which I don't even know if they are. Because I'm going to say this one more time, like this would have been everything that happened in North Carolina would have been the perfect opportunity for her to say, and I could have wrote the speech for this bitch, but it would have been a perfect opportunity for her to say, I don't care what Donald Trump's doing. These are American citizens. I don't care who they're going to vote for. I am going to take care of this myself. I'm going to make sure FEMA needs everything. We are going to do whatever we can do. We're going to set these people up on housing. We're going to make them whole. If we can take care of the world, we need to take care of ourselves first.
And see, here's my thing is like, you wouldn't have won my vote, but you'd have gotten a little bit of respect out of me for that.
Right.
Like,
right. Exactly.
I can hate somebody like the Clintons because I really do at the core. But I heard Bill say out of his own mouth, if they'd have done a better job of vetting at the border, like Lake and Riley would still be alive. Like I don't think he's innocent in any of it. But the truth is, he said something that was true. And for a minute, I went, "Hey, I'll give you some props. You said it out loud. Like, thanks for saying it out loud. That's honest. It's an honest thing. Like, I don't like you. You're never gonna get my vote. But, hey, props to you for being honest.
But it's like this. But I just don't know if they're even trying. Like, I have said this from the very beginning. It was the first thing I said. They didn't switch to Kamala because they think that she's going to beat Trump at all. They switched to Kamala because then they can claim, as long as they have this faux like enthusiasm. Remember, they were doing that. There's just an enthusiasm. There's just an energy. It's just joy. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Nobody has joy right now.
Anytime,
right. So they were doing this just to make it so the cheat could be believable, right? I still don't think it is, but and you're married to a black man.
Most people know that it's not believable, but that's what's so scary to me. I think they become so brazen with it that if she wins the election, and this is what's so hard for me. I mean, real honest things, like obviously you and I are on the same page. I would love to see, I wouldn't say it because it is what it is, but there should be a violent response if she wins the election. But sadly, I don't think there will be, because I think there will be American people so much that people are just going to sit back and go, it doesn't add up, but oh well, like.
And the scary thing about this is, dude, there's a lot. Like I really believe, like even when they poll people on CNN, like CNN will be walking down the street, who are you voting for? And it's like 90% Trump in New York City, right? But those people are voting for Trump based off the economy, not for the other crazy shit that's happened. Like what's happening right now is like a true authoritarian takeover, not just in America, but around the world. But Kamala does have a way that she's going to win back the black male vote.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So this is where I know you've got this ready to pull up. I just literally, like, when I see this, I'm like, you aren't even trying to do this with any type of decorum. Like, you're literally making some of the most racist shit come out of your mouth and written it as policy. Like, you stereotyped. So apparently, according to Kamala, every black man in America needs to have the freedom to do recreational marijuana. Like, what the fuck is she saying?
Not only that, here, we'll read these. This is Kamala. This is the Harris-Walz policy. Kamala Harris will create an opportunity agenda for black men, not black women, not white people, not Americans, just black men, because we realize that we're failing on the polls for this. And oh yeah, Barack Obama pissed off just about every black male alive.
Men who were on the fence.
So they're going to provide 1 million loans that are fully forgivable up to $20K for black entrepreneurs and other startup businesses. First of all, isn't that racism to actually
it is
a policy based on
I
race?
said to my husband today, you better start coming up with your fucking business plan, because if this bitch wins, you're going to be applying for this $20,000 forgivable business.
Dude, I'm just going to identify as black.
Like, we're just going to go for it. I'm like, fuck.
I'll go to a tanning bed and identify as black.
There you go.
I'm going to get my fucking money.
It's nuts. It is literally, it's racist across the board. Like, not just towards white people or not towards black people. Like, it's just literally
racist.
Oh my God. It's racial politics to the core. And every time they're like, oh, they're going to make it equal and it's about equity. Like, what about this is fucking equity? But everything that comes out of her mouth is equity this, equity that. Oh, by the way, if you're white, fuck you. We're not giving you a loan to start your business.
Support educational training and mentorship programs that lead to good paying jobs for black men, including pathways to become teachers. So
I just can't.
You get to be a teacher, as if there's not black men that are teachers already.
Kids are taught by black men and women. Like, what?
Right.
I just like, and I live in a mostly white area of the country. Like, I just can't, like, or the equitable jobs. Like, my husband and I basically do the same job. We make the same money.
Yeah.
And we work for an old school white man. Happens to be my father, but like, it's still old school white dude.
So protect cryptocurrency investments. So black men who make them know their money is safe, not white men, not anybody. And by the way, that is code for, we are going to regulate Bitcoin. That is code for the government to take, like that is what that is. Yep. Launch a national health initiative focused on the illnesses that disproportionately impact black men. What the fuck?
I mean, outside of maybe sickle cell anemia being a genetic occurrence in the black community, but other than that, what?
Well, hypertension. Black people are more prone to hypertension, also.
Yeah.
But the issue with that is multiple fold, because first of all, hypertension now is anything that's 120 over 80 on your blood pressure, whereas 30 years ago, if you were under 140 over 90, you were good. It's just a way to give more medication to black people. Right. And I also find it funny how it's to launch these health initiatives that initiate focused on illnesses for black men, and then right underneath it, they're going to legalize recreational marijuana and create opportunities for black Americans to succeed in this new industry, being drug dealers.
I can't, like,
what the fuck, man? Like what
this
the
is
fuck?
The thing. I tell Cameron all the time, being gay, you see certain things through a different lens, right? And so, like, the PrEP commercials, so you can go fuck around and not get HIV. Right? But here's the thing: never been on it, never want to be on it. Like, and I know plenty of guys who are. It is what it is. Look, I'm not going to judge you. Do whatever. Now, here's what I know: that medicine's going to kill your liver. It's going to fuck up your kidneys, and you're going to die early. Just so you don't die early from AIDS. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to die actually a worse death. You'd probably be better off to die of AIDS than to die of organ failure that's going to occur slowly over the next 20 years because you took a drug so you could fuck around indiscriminately. But if you watch the ad, watch it next time and put this set of lenses on. Obviously, it's targeted to gay men because gay men, more than gay women, are more prone to illicit free-range sex. Now, that's a male thing, and I understand that. But the secondary demographic in those commercials every time are black men, not gay men, black men. And I'm like, what are you saying? Like, what what is being communicated
The black men are
the
whores.
community? And again, it's the same thing here. When you look at this stuff from Kamala, I just scratch my head and I'm going, y'all scream all this bullshit about equity, equality, and everybody's the same, and yet nobody came to me and said, hey, white dude in your 40s, you want to sell weed? Let's legalize it and set you up with a $20,000 business loan and good health care so you can go out and sell weed.
Right. No, nobody can convince me that these people are not racist as fuck.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm sorry. And I know the weird thing is I get called a racist all the time. I'm the worst racist ever. Like, right. I am the shittiest bigot ever. Like,
well, that's what this woman in Alabama and all that stuff I was saying earlier. I'm a horrible racist, and I'm like, the fuck, like, can you not look at my own fucking family? First of all, let's just go there. Who am I married to? What do my kids look like? But then I'm showing you, like, I'm hanging out playing fucking ping pong with the Prime Minister of Haiti. He ain't white. Yeah. You know, like
it's weird. Like, all my business partners are of color or Jewish or whatever. Half my friends are gay or lesbian. Like, right. I've got trans friends. I am the worst bigot ever. Right. And because here's the thing, I do this weird thing. And by the way, I'm going to pull this down here a second. I just want to show everybody. This is from her fucking actual page. Like, this isn't something that they just are like somebody made. This her account. She posted. Well, somebody posted for her, I'm sure, because there's words involved. But like, I just want to point out that it's on her page. Yeah, it's on her page. Right.
I just can't. I gotta find this other thing, because I went back and I was like, oh, really? Because as smart as they think they are, they're just as dumb. Because again, you can go back on her fucking Twitter where she's talking about busting marijuana rings when she was the DA. In San Francisco, 1,900 convictions of black men in California during the time she was DA for marijuana possession, use, or selling, right? Yeah. So I'm like, huh? Because it don't add up, lady. No. It don't add up.
No, not at all. And I mean, that's I think the huge problem is that, like, we can't possibly expect for this woman or this administration or even any politician, as a matter, to save us. Right. You know, I think that, I do think that, like, if Trump gets elected, it buys us a little bit of time, but we're going to have to save ourselves. I will say this. I will be utterly shocked. And this is not me inciting violence, but I don't think that anybody is truly going to believe that if all of a sudden they declare her the winner. I don't believe that it's going to happen. But here's the thing to worry about, people. Here's the thing to worry about. They control the media and they control the counting. Right. So there's a strong chance that they're just going to cheat big, like just go for it.
Last time, I mean, people have gone back and shown. We don't have to get into voting machines and stuff in ballot boxes. You can just see what the media did with timestamps of like 10 seconds later, Biden's back in the lead, and you're like, wait, how the hell did you get reporting that fast when they're telling us it's going to take days to find out how many goddamn ballots are actually there? Like, it just doesn't. And actually, I saw today, and like Elon said something about it too on Twitter, but like just talking about how CBS is already normalizing the idea of the fraud they're trying to pull, which is where CBS is saying in some districts it may take us up to 2 weeks to get everything in and absentee ballots and all this bullshit. Like bullshit. Because other than a court case, the only time I ever remember legitimately, and I'm not sure it was legitimate then, was the Bush Gore issue. But I'm sorry. Like, and you see these memes, you see these things that float around on the internet. It's like, if you can put a serial number on every goddamn dollar bill you push out the door and track that shit, somebody robs a bank, then why don't we do that with voting? Why is it that I can't go down and buy a bottle of scotch if I want to have a cocktail without a fucking ID, but I can vote for the leader of the free world without an ID? Like, it just, it's all bullshit. It's chess. It's 4D chess, and they're playing with people's lives and well-being.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like, we need to make gun-free zones. You know what would be a great gun-free zone for me? Congress. Right. What now?
Right.
Like, so if a school, if my child cannot be protected by firearms, your fucking ass shouldn't be. Like, I mean, like no shit. That's the problem, though, because here's where we're at. They in 2020. They took over, and we don't, like, I say this all the time, and I really mean this, people. We are already at war.
Oh.
We, the people, just need to realize it. They're already, if you can't tell me that day one, Biden takes over after they literally cheated, it was visible. We watched them. We watched it fucking happen. They take over, and then they literally proceed to set up a bunch of fucking protesters. They don't even know how many FBI agents, CIA agents were in the fucking crowd. They say they lost track. It's like,
well, they're going to tell us like a week after this election is over.
Yeah. They literally had like they just found evidence about Liz Cheney communicating with people about this shit. Like these people are political prisoners because of who they voted for and who they stood up for. Well, so there was that, and then day one, this bitch like killed the fucking economy. He killed the Keystone Pipeline. He opened the fucking border. We have a come across policy now.
He repealed the executive order that made insulin $35 so he could reinstate it to say that he did it, even though Trump's the one who fucking did it. Like, and it's insane. All on the website for the White House. They didn't even scrub it. Like, you can go back and read all the things. Like, even the executive order day one to make insulin more affordable states that they removed the executive order that President Trump signed to make it $35 and rescinded it and re-signed it so Biden could put his name on it. It's like, are you fucking dumb? Like, hello, they didn't even try to hide. They didn't even try to hide it.
No, but because they didn't. Here's the thing: they don't need to hide it. They just need not to talk about it, and they get to control the narrative. That's because that's the truth. They don't need to hide it when people don't look for it. When people trust the system, they're left to only what the system wants them. That's the same thing. Like people trust their doctor. You are fucking stupid if you trust your doctor. I will say that after 2020, and I'm not saying there's not plenty of good doctors out there. So all you guys don't get fucking your panties in a wad, but if you just blindly trust the healthcare industry after the last 4 years, you are fucking stupid. Like it's truly fucking stupid. And it's the same thing. You trust the government. First of all, you should never trust the government.
No. And again, our founding documents are written literally to say that at any point, the government becomes oppressive in such a way to hinder the life and liberty, the freedom of the American people. The American people should then rise up and replace said government.
We are there.
That supports the liberty. Yeah. I'm like, it's written for us to do this. Again, it's like the Second Amendment.
Yeah, but
you can be armed more than the fucking government so you can overthrow the government should the government try to overthrow you. Like
the problem is there's a huge swath of people that live in America, that were born in America, that aren't actually wanting to be Americans. they don't want to be.
No.
Because Americans are about personal liberty. It's about freedom. It's about being able to say what you want and not be put in jail or suppressed for it. Like the government has no right to suppress any speech. And they're openly talking about misinformation laws. There's no such thing as misinformation. There is somebody that's saying something that if is so false, so wrong, or just a lie that your data or your speech and your proof should be able to negate it. It's so fucking weird. Well, we just want to silence people. It is amazing to me that people are like, oh, the government's got to do something about this misinformation. They got to do something about these speech laws. Like all these people on the right that were all for the speech laws about Israel and shit like that. Fuck you, motherfuckers, too. Like people should be able to be critical of anybody they want to be critical of.
Absolutely.
You don't need to like them. You don't need to like it. They should be able to say hateful, mean shit if they want to. Let us see their hateful, mean shit. But instead, we have many Americans who just want to be coddled and be safe. That's why when you breed weak men and you breed weak women, it's weakness. And these weak fucking people, they want to be taken care of. They don't care about freedom. That's why 2020 worked so well, dude. Just real quick. That's why 2020 worked so well. Because half these people already had that fucking life. Half these people were already living inside, barely fucking communicating. Most of these motherfuckers just jacked off the fucking women without actually going to talking to a fucking woman or man or whatever. Most of these people were too involved in their little fucking life to even worry about like going out, and they were terrified because most of these people are fat as fuck. Most of these people don't take care of themselves, and they can claim that it's all the system and it's this and that. They know that if they know that a country that's built on personal liberty, a country that's built on personal liberty is a lot less safe than this country. And this country is not actually safe, but it makes it so you are actually have to take more responsibility for your
That's
protection.
what I was about. That's what I was about to do. I think for 3 or 4 generations now, what we've done is we've bred an American people who don't understand responsibility. The responsibility to protect, to build, to provide, all the things. Like the reason that we didn't need a draft, the reason that we fought wars and won is because we had a responsibility, a deep sense of responsibility to protect the liberties and freedoms that we stood for, that we came here for. And that disappeared, and then all of a sudden you start to govern things, and this is where, you know, the more laws you make, obviously the less freedom there is. But and it's funny to me because really with more freedom comes more responsibility. But we've taught people not to be responsible. We've told people you shouldn't be responsible for that. If your feelings hurt, it's not your fault. You know, if your dad told you to rub dirt on it instead of put a Band-Aid on it and take a week off and get sick pay, then, you know, that's your fault or his fault because he made you feel a certain way. It's like, no, you fucking have responsibility. You function, you know, like I always go back to telling my kids all the time, because they'll have, you know, my kids, and we all get hurt or we get sick or whatever, right? And I'm probably the far other extreme. I can be running 104 fever and bleeding out of every orifice. And if there's a job to do, I'm going to show up and get it done. Then I'll go bitch and complain and lay down and feel better. But I always talk about my great grandfather. He worked in a sawmill, he worked on the rail yards. Like I have pictures of my great grandfather holding railroad ties like this. I mean, he's a fucking beast, you know, like, but he was also just a man. Like, and it was a responsibility of the reality of you didn't have a choice. You had to provide, you had to respond, you had to show up, and you had to hold that responsibility as your highest, not only obligation, but an honor, right? It's an honor to be a responsible person to protect that. But he was working in the sawmill and he's tossing the logs in, and it caught his sleeve, sucked him in, it cut off these 3 fingers on his left hand. Okay. He goes in. Now this would have been about 1923, 1924. Okay. So 100 years ago. But 100 years ago, he goes to the mortician in Springfield, Illinois, where he was living at the time. They sewed the ends of it, and he went back to work same day. Like, nobody does that shit anymore because nobody's responsible, because somebody's going to bail them out. Somebody's going to make them feel better. Somebody's going to compensate for it. But the truth is, that's why we also don't have a sense of pride and ownership. You know, I used to say this all the time. You know, I pastored one of the biggest churches in the United States for a long time. And I used to say all the time, we don't have members in our church. We have owners, because with ownership comes responsibility. It's like a gym. And this is a world where you and I and Mark, you know, spend a lot of time in the gym world. Like, we just don't do shit. The treadmill breaks there, they go complain about it, right? Put a sign on it. But if every person that came to your gym had a stake of ownership in it and the treadmill breaks, they're going to step up to the plate and go, who do I call? How do I fix this? Can I do it? Do we have to pay someone? Can I get a screwdriver and maybe just put it back on track? Like, what do I got to do? But it's that reality is that we've taken out the responsibility. We've allowed people to be members of a club. And that's what I think the United States has become, is some sort of fucking club, no matter where you come from, your ideology, right? I fit into a club, whereas it was founded as a place for everybody to be a owner. Therefore, meritocracy and the way freedoms and rights were given to vote and all those things based on ownership and the responsibility to build this country. And those things continue to be shaved off and discarded. Nobody has responsibility. Therefore, nobody has ownership of the fact that we stand in a constitutional republic that we should be owning, protecting, building, and providing for. And instead, we sit back and act like we're entitled. Like my taxes are not a fucking membership fee. First of all, they're theft. But even if they were reasonable, let's go back to say they are reasonable taxation in this country, which we're so far from that. But even if it was reasonable, that's not my membership fee to be part of this country. That is a responsibility to provide for building this country. There's a huge mental difference there. Huge mental difference.
Well, another thing too is that through, you know, Hollywood and mainstream news and mainstream media and TV and music, we have made basically a society of victim pussies,
right?
You know, like just weak ass victim. Like I remember when I was growing up, dude. Like when I was growing up, I grew up in such a different time where I would go rabbit hunting before school, and like my shotgun would be in my car. You know, when I pulled up to the high school. Right now, if you do that, the FBI shows the fuck up, which is kind of crazy. But
that just happened at my kids' high school. One of their buddies was out hunting. Forgot to take his gun out of his car, showed up at school. They showed up and he got expelled.
Yeah, they just automatically
like,
expel people.
What the hell? Like, I get that you make a mistake, and I get don't take the gun on the school grounds. If that's your policy, okay,
Why?
fine. I
Why
don't
though?
like it, but if
Why?
that's your policy, fine. But expel the kid from school for making a mistake. Go fuck yourself. Come on, man.
I still don't understand. I still don't understand the why though. Like, if it's my gun and it's in my car, I don't understand why. I don't understand why it's your business to begin with.
They're not laws. They're regulations.
They're not laws, right? So, but my thing is like, you know, a bunch of like, I could get into a fist fight with another kid who probably also had a gun in his car, and we would not shoot each other. We would punch it out until somebody went down. Nobody was curb stomping nobody. Like shit, half the time. Like, but when I was 21, I like, dude, look at the fucking face, man. I've been in a lot of fights, a lot of bar fights. Yeah. I've lost my fair share. I've won my fair share. It's not something I'm proud of. But when you're young, stupid, and you're in the nightclub industry, you end up getting knocked around, right? But you know what? There's been many times where I got into a bar fight and me and the dude I fought are buying beers for each other later because we worked our fucking shit out, right? Like, that doesn't happen anymore. These people are insane. And then we went to the very second that my wife looked at me and said, "We're fucked," is when they were like, "Those words are violence."
Yeah.
If we're saying words are violence comes out of the mouths of people that have never committed or been the victim of fucking violence, right? Like, and it's amazing to me that we got to that stage, bro, because that's the biggest problem. These people, like, you motherfuckers think words hurt. Wait till fucking China shows up. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
you think words.
Here's what's so crazy to me. Even in this stuff, like the stuff in North Carolina after the hurricane, for a lot of people who've gone up there to help, and a lot of people who live there, they've never seen that kind of devastation, destruction. Right? They've never seen death. They've never seen things fall apart like that. And one of my really good friends who's been up there helping, she called me. She used to love hearing stories. You know, I would tell stories about being in Haiti during the earthquake and like literally loading a truckload of dead bodies and dumping them in a mass grave and like stuff that's still kind of surreal to me in all reality. But you know, I'll tell these stories, and she would always be like, "Oh, I love this story. This is crazy. You got to hear the story." It's like a party trick, right? When you're with people, she's like, tell them about that time, you know? And I'm like, she called me the other day and she's like, I just want you to know, I don't know what to do with this shit. Like, I can't process it. I've been driving. I've seen bodies in trees. I've seen them loading bodies. I've seen entire towns wiped out. I'm seeing people starving, seeing this. And the reality is all of a sudden she goes, now I understand why sometimes you get emotional when you tell your stories. And I'm like, because as a human, I'm still human. And I can tell some sensational stories. But the truth is, and that's what I told this woman on social media today in Alabama, I was like, when you've lived it, come back and talk to me. But until then, shut the fuck up. Like, because again, and I didn't sign up for the military. I've never been to war. Okay. Now, I've been in war zones. I sat hunkered in a building in the middle of Aleppo during the Syrian war while shells were going off around me. But I wasn't a soldier, right? I had fear. I saw it. I experienced it, but I wasn't there responsible for what was going on. And there's so many nuances to this, but until you've lived it, till you've been in that place, till you're the one wearing the camo and carrying the ammunition issued by the U.S. government and told to protect the freedom and the liberties of our country, not somebody else, but you sacrifice for it. Like, I cannot have an opinion per se about someone in their military service because I didn't serve in the military. Like, so I'm not going to project myself into it. I can empathize with certain things and I should listen, and I may disagree, but that point is I can't disagree with validity because I didn't live, right? Like,
well, I mean, and here's the problem with that. That means that the only perspectives that are true are the perspectives of the people that are there, that have been there. Because that's another thing too that we need to decide as a people, right? Truth, like truth. Like it literally comes down to that. Like, who do you want to be told the truth, or do you want the hard truth or the kind lie? And I say this all the time in my work because I help morbidly obese people lose weight, right? Like, I'll tell you the truth, and I won't lie to you. And if you want lies, you go to somebody else. Like, because the truth is, if you're a 400-pound person, you're a burden on all of society and you're killing yourself. Right. And it's weird how, dude, it's weird how we live in a society where I can say, hey, you're 400 pounds, you're killing yourself. And people are like, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But the second you say, well, that makes you a burden on everybody, they get super fucking pissed. And it's the truth. It's 100% the truth, right? And then we get into the whole thing. And while I'm very happy about Robert Kennedy Jr. and the whole Make America Healthy movement again, I will say this, and please, if you're listening, Callie Means, Casey Means, Robert Kennedy, if you're listening to me, please understand this, because I think you're missing a vital component. The culture needs to change, because it's not just the ultra processed foods. Right now, we should just kind of accept that well over 50% of the population has some sort of food addiction or binge eating disorder. They are addicted to this food. And we know it's addictive. So how are we going to get people away from it? I will tell you this. It is not going to happen by just like the subsidies. Like that shit's going to happen fast enough. These people are addicted to these foods. They are addicted to them.
We can't address the symptom. The symptom would be the products that people consume.
Right.
You know, I thought of this because I think it was yesterday you were posting about the addictive nature of sugar, right? Mm-hmm. And like, I don't necessarily say that I got a binge thing. Like, I know that that's part of your story, but at the same time, there are things. And I'll tell you, I have a hard weakness this time of year with candy corn. It is like my kryptonite, right? Yeah. And Cameron, my husband, out of trying to be just this kind, wonderful spouse, comes in the other day after we'd had like a really hard couple of days with work and life and all this stuff. And he throws down like 6 bags of candy corn. And he's like, here, I hope this makes you feel better. And I was like, fuck you, man. And he's like, I'm trying to be nice. I was like, no, I don't think you understand. Like, fuck you. Like, you brought my kryptonite in here. And what I literally sat that day and ate 2 bags of that shit. Now, I can afford it. I'm not overweight. I can control it. I'm not addictive per se, right? So, but that wasn't healthy. That was I was not at my stellar top moment by consuming probably, I don't know what that is. That's 8 or 10,000 calories of just straight fucking sugar, man. But like,
they're big. Oh shit! Like they're big.
Bad. But like, you know. But the thing is like I understand that. But the reality is, for me, like I have to. That's what where I'm going with this is like I have to address that about myself. Like I know I do not have an ability to give full self-control in that moment, because I also know when I get through that moment, it's not like I'm going to go back to the store and buy 10 more bags. I'm not going to do that. But the point is, it does not excuse a bad choice, you know, and thankfully, but for some people, that's exactly what they'll do. They'll eat those 2 bags. They'll get in the car. They'll go buy 2 more. They'll get in the car. They'll buy 2 more. They get in the car. They'll walk. They'll do whatever they got to do. Right. And so you've got to address the cultural and the component issue of saying to people, it's not okay. Like, it's just not okay. There's no excuse for it.
Like every time a morbidly obese person says online that you can be fat and healthy, it should be like, we're so into marking things for misinformation. Right. That's just a lie.
It's like wrong, like on every level. It's not even just, there's a moral component to that.
There's a moral component, but it's also like
thing. That's a moral component of you are fucking other people and this society and your family, your children, whomever is directly connected to you,
the environment, the planet, everything. Like
to those people, you take care of me. I am entitled to it. I have no responsibility. Go fuck yourself. Like that's literally what that's saying. In the subtext, if we could put the little fine print underneath, that's exactly what that comment is.
Because the people that eat, like, even if you don't get super morbidly obese, if you eat straight sugar, you're going to need medical attention at some point in time. Like it's not an if, it's a when. Like if you're ingesting 100 grams of sugar a day, every single day for 30 fucking years, your pancreas will eventually tell you to fuck off.
Yes.
It's going to happen. You are going to be diabetic. It's not an if. And yes, people, I know that the medical industry doesn't tell you this, but sugar does cause diabetes. Like it absolutely, like sugar and processed carbohydrates absolutely cause diabetes
and breathing problems and heart issues.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Which then gives you heart disease. Like people just don't like, you know, it's really funny. I was a veterinary technician for years and we used to tell people we would clean dogs' teeth and people thought that was ridiculous, right? It's a pet. And I get that, but it's just exactly the same for humans. Like if you don't have good oral health, the first thing that is affected is your heart, not anything else. Your heart, the central component that keeps your fucking body moving every single fucking day. And the first thing, bad oral health. So you ingest the wrong foods and don't take care of yourself. It's just nuts to me to try to explain to people. Like, but I would tell people this about their dogs. And they're like, oh, okay, let's clean their teeth. I'm like, but if I try to tell you this about you call me a fucking lunatic and toss me aside. Right.
Well, like, if somebody feeds a dog to the point where they're so big that they can't move, it's animal abuse.
Right.
If somebody does that to their child, nobody
It's
does shit.
compassionate and loving, and
it's this weird odd thing, because like I said, I deal with this a lot, and it's my message to RFK and them. If anybody wants to forward this to them, and I trust me on this, I love what you guys are doing, absolutely love it. Even though Mark and I came up with Make America Healthy Again first, way before you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys using it. I love it. I love it. I'd like to help you guys out. And with that, I really do mean this. I really mean it. Like, you guys are missing a very serious societal component, because the way people eat and eating these foods and being addicted to them and being obese, this has become a societal contagion, just like the whole trans movement. It's actually a societal contagion. Like, say me and you all of a sudden became friends with like 8 really fat dudes, right? And this was our friend group. We hung out with these people every day. We're going to be fat. We're going to end up being fat.
Because eventually you let your guard down and you go, what the fuck? I'll have another beer. I'll eat 2 more hot dogs.
It also normalizes, it normalizes being much larger, than anything. Like, you don't feel out of place when everybody's fat. Like, if you're fat and everybody else is fat, you don't feel out of place.
Right before we got on tonight, some people probably paid attention to this for different reasons. I'm not attracted to women, so my reasoning for this is totally different. But my husband and I were watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show, its kind of debut and comeback tonight, it's actually really epic. I got to give them a lot of credit, because I was not expecting anything good. Honestly, I thought we were going to end up with some, as a most part, but of course they included the plus size girls, and some of them, back in the day, a plus size was like size 6 or 8 for most women. Like, that was a plus size. Some of these girls are like size 22, right? Like, they're huge, and and they're fine. Listen, I don't think they're not pretty in some form or another, but that's not something you're looking to attain, right? Like, and I see them walk out in their lingerie with cellulite and rolls and shit, and people are like, oh, they're so pretty. I'm like, no, I don't think that's that pretty. Like, and I'm not trying to demonize you. Like, I don't know your story either, but it's okay for me to go, you see Kate Moss, the bitch is 55 years old. She walked out on stage, looked like $1 million fucking bucks, man. She looks good at 55 years old. And she set a standard in beauty and fashion, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. No. Is everybody going to attain that? Like, I deal with it every day. I want to be cut like Mark, but I ain't going to be like 6% body fat. It's never going to happen unless I do unhealthy shit, right? Like, but here's the thing. Because I am driven to see somebody like Mark or other people that I look up to and go, I wish I was in that kind of shape, right? Like, and I can't, and I don't, it's not a cop out. Like, I don't have the time, the structure of my life to be able to hit that goal right now. Maybe I will, who knows? But it's not that it's the size, it's the cut, just all those dynamics things, right? Like, I'm not going to eat like that. Let me be real. I don't have time in my day to eat that much shit. But anyway,
well, that's what I think that people don't understand that. Like, I mean, if you ever spend multiple days in a row with Mark from like beginning of the day, like we've done conventions together and stuff like that. Where I was talking about, we're probably going to figure out like right after the beginning of the year, get up there and do like a whole fucking big thing, because our 200th episode will be right at the beginning of the year. But if you ever hang out with him, like if he doesn't eat like a lot, he loses weight, like visibly loses weight. Right. Like you can see, like it starts drawing in on his face to such an incredible degree. And I'm talking like if he eats as much as I eat, it's not nearly enough. Right.
And so that's why, like, I look at it, but I think like it's okay for me to see that and be dissatisfied, thinking I wish I could attain that. It's not. Here's the problem: everything falls into the bucket of body dysmorphia, right? So like, and that's bullshit. Like, it's okay. Like, I try to tell. Listen, my 10-year-old's overweight, no question about it. Right? I'm not in governance of his entire life because I do have split custody with my ex. It is what it is, and there's some propensities in that side of the family. It just is what it is, but I don't shy away from it. And actually my other kids, like they've all kind of fluctuated some. And as my boys got older, they're like, Hey, fatty, listen, and my ex, sometimes the compassionate mom heart, like, don't do that. I'm like, no, let them do it, because that's the safest place for that to happen. Because if he's getting more of it at home, he's listening at home, versus some kid in his classroom that he doesn't have a relationship with who calls him a fat ass, right? Like, it has helped. I've seen it, and it's really driven him to make some changes. And, I'm hopeful, just like my other kids, as he gets towards puberty and his brain has started kicking in, the hormones will help, and his choice of resolve will also follow behind that to make decisions to be a healthier person as he gets older, right? But there's cultural things, like you said, that in the Make America Healthy thing, like for him, he's also the youngest out of 7 kids. You know, you're at the end of the chain. There's certain things you just like, whatever. He's fucking breathing and eating, and he's not going to jail. We're probably doing good as a parent, you know. But at the same time, I just know my son, like he comes home, and if nobody else is at home, and this is a literal cultural thing, nobody's there giving him some of that guidance. So he'll walk in the pantry, pull out a bag of chocolate chips, and pour a half a cup of them into a little bowl and sit in front of the TV stationary, not doing shit, and eating chocolate. Like that's never going to be a combination for success in being a healthy human being. And I know that. So we address that. So when he's in my home, and again, I don't want to shoot my ex because I don't feel like there's nuance there.
I got you.
Right, my character. I'm never going to speak badly about my ex, but but in my house, he knows when he comes to ask for a snack. Now he'll get sugary things here and there, right? And we've got 4 portions and all that stuff. But he'll come in and he goes, "I guess yesterday I had my sugar snack. So can I have like a bowl of fruit, or can I get some crackers?" Like he's learning to make much better decisions, right? And we're trying to give him that autonomy, but there's a cultural component to it, right? Because I have no problem looking square in the eyes and go, if you keep choosing that, you're going to be a fat ass, bro. And I don't want that for you. Yeah. You know, like it's okay for me to say that.
Yeah. Well, I think we could we can kind of wrap it up on that for the day, and just like, you know, the one thing that I think that is different, like I think I have a unique perspective on this, because like to anybody out there that has found me super abrasive, I do got to tell you, I don't care. I mean, I really, really don't, because here's the thing. One, I can't change this. Like anybody that's ever met me in real life, like a lot of people get online and they play a character, and trust me, there are some times where I even think, unfortunately, this is just who the fuck I am. Like sometimes I'm a lot for me, right? Like, I mean, I'm just like, holy fuck, I am a lot right now. I can't stop myself from talking and shit like that, you know? Or like, it bothers me sometimes with like, I'll get lost in mental thought and like go down a rabbit hole, and then I have to write it out. And so because it's an idea for something later, like, you know, I got that kind of like, I'm fucking half crazy, right? But I can say this. I will always tell you the fucking truth. You know what I mean? Because like, I don't think I cannot, right? So if I think it, I'm going to fucking say it, right? And I can personally tell you this. I have coached thousands of people. Like my wife and I have coached individually thousands of people at this stage, from morbidly obese to healthy weights. I don't even know how much weight we've helped people lose over the course of the years, but it's probably close to 100,000 pounds by now. It's like we've helped people lose lots and lots and lots of weight, right? And I just really wish that people could understand that, like, avoiding the problem that you have with food and that you have with obesity and your depression that leads to it and all these things, avoiding it, not wanting to be told about it, not even wanting to hear about it, like shoving your head into the ground when somebody says, "Hey, being fat's bad for you. What the fuck are you doing?" Like that is a sign of mental illness. And addiction. Like you are more addicted to the foods that has you being fat than your own goddamn life.
Right.
And that is where we need to get to. Like we need to get back to a stage in society where if you're fat, your friend is fat. Hey dude, you're a fat ass. Let's go to the fucking gym.
Right.
Like, hey dude,
go back to like, it wasn't that long ago, 25, 30 years ago.
No, it wasn't that long ago. It just wasn't.
Friends, if somebody was overweight, we could say, why are you such a fat ass? Like, and it wasn't necessarily, that doesn't mean feelings weren't hurt, but that's not my goal. My goal isn't to make you feel a certain way. Like, I want to be able to look you in the eyeball and go, "You're a fat ass, but you know what? You're in my circle. So we'll deal with the fat ass thing as we go through it. And I'm your buddy. So let's do."
But people shouldn't feel good about it, though.
But I don't need you to feel good. I need you to be cared for, and their truth allows people to actually find out they're cared for. They just don't like sometimes that the feeling of getting there isn't comfortable. Good things never happen in a comfort zone. Great things never happen in your comfort zone.
Like I say this all the time. Like, you know, if you don't want to be fat shamed, don't be fat.
Don't be fat.
I mean, because it is something that you should be, in fact, ashamed of.
Yeah.
Like it is, first of all, it is incredibly privileged.
Yep.
Like for like, and you know this, you've been around the world. It is incredibly fucking privileged to have enough money and access to enough food to glutton yourself over a long period of time with morbid obesity.
The first time I saw a morbidly obese person in Haiti, and I was like, "What the fuck do they do for a living?"
You must be rich like a motherfucker.
You gotta have money coming out your eyeballs, because it just isn't something you do. You know, and I think about my grandma. My grandma's 92. She'll be 92 years old in like 2 weeks, and you know, my grandma's the first one to walk in a room and go, "Well, goddamn, you're getting fat."
Yeah.
Like, and you may have put on 2 pounds. That's how much she pays attention. Now, granted, it's funny. I listened to my mom for years gripe about, you know, my mother-in-law, she'll call me fat all the time. But you know what I do know? My mom paid attention and she was not going to be called fat. And it motivated her to not be fat, right? Like,
that's my point, dude. That's my point.
It wasn't said facetious or mean. It's an observation of truth, right?
An observation of truth about something that people should be. You should be. If you are morbidly obese, it is not it. So what's the opposite of pride? Shame. You should not be proud of being morbidly obese.
Right.
You should be ashamed of it. You've eaten, you've abused yourself, you have self-harmed for such a long period of time that you have now made yourself a disproportionate burden to your family, society, and the planet.
Yep.
That is shameful, right? And we've removed shame from it. And that is a cultural thing that's very bad. People are like, "Oh my God, you just hate fat people." Like, fuck all you motherfuckers. Like, this will be my last note, and you can finish up, and then we'll get out of here. But if I hated fat people, I'd tell those bitches to eat more ice cream. Right. If I hated fat people, I would tell them to sit on the couch and watch more TV instead of going for a walk. Exactly. If I hated fat people, I would say, you know what? Take that Ozempic instead of trying to fix your fucking shit. Right. If I hated fat people, I would be trying to get every possible Pizza Hut in the fucking country to give free pizza to fat people, because that is hatred. You know why? Because I would encourage them to hurt themselves more.
So they would go away.
People that want to label me as the mean one and them the nice ones don't understand that I have to say things the way I have to say them, because there needs to be a counterbalance to the open-faced politically correctness, which is actually just lying. It's population level lying to each other's faces about shit that's very dangerous in life. And that's why I will not be nice about it, because it's not something we should be nice about. Frankly, even if you don't give a fuck about you, because I'm not going to be able to help you. I say this all the time to clients. I can't help you if I give more of a fuck about you than you. Like, you need to care about you more than I care about you. Like, fucking absolutely, right?
Absolutely.
But if you are not going to give a fuck about yourself, how about the planet? How about your family? How about other people that you're driving up the cost of healthcare for? How about all the resources you're using? Like, I could go on for fucking ever.
Right.
It is not something that we should have ever been like, you know what? Her truth is her truth. Her health is her business. As long as we have shared societal healthcare burden, your health is everybody's business. Especially after 2020, your health is everybody's business.
Bingo.
And I'm done.
What I'll tell you, and it'll dovetail in, because I was watching, and this is the responsibility of the culture thing. And I think that I just give everybody a homework assignment. Okay. Because most people are going to turn on their TV at some point, whether they're streaming shit or whatever, right? And ads are popping up, unless you're paying the extra $23 a month or some shit they're raping everybody for these days on all the streaming services. But anyway, Noom, which is that health and weight management psychological program that it's probably been around a decade or so. I think I've seen commercials and stuff for it. But I noticed the other day, and this is a cultural thing, and I want people to go watch this and think about this. Find the latest Noom commercial. And they talk about how they're going to help people get in the mindset, have healthy habits, all the things that you actually do for people, right? And so it's fun. I see what Noom, when they came out, I thought this like BetterHelp or one of those. There's somebody's taking a good idea. They want to take it to scale. And obviously somebody's trying to get rich, whatever it is. But either the company sold or the founder has just drifted off of core values, right? Or the board, something's off, right? And this is a cultural,
right?
So they say, we're going to give you all these things. We're going to help you do this so you're not dependent on medications and pharma and blah, 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 blah. By the way, call our number and get our new Noom GLP-1. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, did you not just say the point is to not do that, but now you're selling that. So here's where I'm going to leave that. Just watch it. Let it settle in your head. It's just like I was talking about the prep commercials. You know, they're targeting a very stereotypical thing. Pay attention to the way it's messaged and remind yourself that what they have done is conditioned you with a little bit of good language, right? Good habits, better ideas, a better mindset. But we're going to get you hooked on easy. So that all those other things you really need to do, we're going to make it so you really don't want to go do those. And we'll just keep buying this subscription. And this is how all of it's worked. This is across the board, right? Noom just literally just published something and like dramatized it and put it on television. So, you know, go watch it, look at it, think about that, because that's the cultural stuff we got to change. Like you said, we got to go back in and go, hey, you can go buy your GLP-1, but it's going to fuck you up. So we'd rather help you do this. We're not going to help you get your fucking GLP-1, right? Like, so these are the things. You're right. We got to fix in this country, whether it's our healthcare system, whether it's our governance, whether it's the way we do elections, whether it's the way we just
kind of needs to happen at once. I mean, that's the thing. We're like, I say this about
generational churn, man. We got to go through it. Period.
Yeah, there's going to be some heartache. There's no doubt. But
hey,
man, I wanted to thank you for joining us tonight on Evening Rants. Appreciate it. If you're free tomorrow, come on back. You know, and because I think Mark might be here tomorrow. It depends on football. I don't know, but because he's coaching football, by the way. He still does this. It's football season and he coaches his kid, and I couldn't be prouder.
I'm around tomorrow, so you can count on it. I'll show back up tomorrow, and then we'll.
All right, man.
We're all three here. We're all three here. If it's just you and me, okay, we'll rock and roll, baby.
So everybody go follow Mike Robinson. It's Mike Robinson on all your platforms, right?
Michael Robinson. It's you probably see the screen name on here, but at Michael Robinson, they can see it on there. Right here on Twitter, you can find me just about anywhere. You know,
now they can see it.
There we go. Yep, right there.
There we go.
They can get on there and find it, and it'll be.
Thank you all very much.
Fun
we will be back tomorrow. God damn.
Let's rock and roll, man.
Ladies, come here. If you want to burn body fat, not just a little bit, but a lot, I got the perfect stack for you. It's 3 products. Ember, which is a powerful thermogenic that you take in the morning, suppresses your appetite to a degree, and it raises your metabolic rate and have you burning calories all day long. Alchemy. What Alchemy is going to do is it allows you to eat those carbs in your meal guilt-free. It's going to take those carbs and burn it off as fuel, so you have plenty of energy throughout the day. Before you go to bed, you're going to take no morbidity. It's the best part of the stack, because while you sleep, a deep, restful sleep, it's going to be burning calories, burning fat all night long. So you're going to wake up not feeling groggy, feeling refreshed, ready to go about your day. So we got you covered all day long. This is called the Holy Trinity Stack. And ladies, it's for y'all, for the queens.